Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Rav Dessler. So, in the middle of Shavuot, we're talking about his sanctuaries in time. And he said over here yesterday, he said that there's a comparison between the laws of Tahara, the laws of making an animal or someone from a state of impurity to purity, 7 days, right? And the process of the Omer, right? That's 49 days, and 7 times 7 is 49, and there's a correlation over there. And we see this yesterday. We spoke about the idea that 7 represents completion of a system, right? 7 days of the week. You have 7 spectrums of color. You have 7 keys. You have all sorts of ideas that come to its totality with the number 7. And therefore, when we're talking about this concept of Shavuot, the weeks, literally the holiday is called weeks, Shavuot, right?
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle. And so now we're seeing this concept of cycles everywhere, by the way. Even the new science today is talking about how we see things in cyclical cycles coming back over and over again, re-experiencing energy from a different perspective. Jack, what do you want to say? Come on, I think you want to say something. Just say it.
The real Tahara will be 5 days.
Torah, it depends actually. It depends what you're talking about. So
not for the
like that?
Yeah.
No. It could be 24 hours. Depending on, so I'm saying it depends on what the Tumah is. So there's a flow, there's all kinds of different flows. So depending on what the flow is, it would change. You know, there's no question that Chumrot that were added, but for like a Nida cycle, it would be a minimum of 7 days.
That was up.
Yeah, that's Zav. So I'm saying it depends on the flow. Depends on what kind of flow you're talking about. Anyway, where were we? It could be less than that. It could be even less. But okay, where were we? Okay, the Omer offering, the new offering. The goal of our accounting to the 50th day is the festival of Shavuot, corresponding to the day that we receive the Torah. On this day, we're commanded to bring to God a new offering, 2 wheat loaves. This is called the new offering, right? Korban Chadashah, because it is the first offering brought from the new wheat crop. This is also the deeper reason. This is the offering celebrates the attainment of the spiritual level known as receiving the Torah. And every spiritual attainment is completely new. On page 32, we're finishing this up today. A new world, in fact, compared by the level previously attained. So now let's talk about this. So you have this holiday that's approaching, God willing, soon. Okay, last night was 11. Okay, so we're 30 days away, right, from the holiday. Okay, so what does a holiday want? The holiday is a holiday where we're trying to take a group of people who were slaves, people who are completely disconnected, and unable to think, unable to have clarity, no goals. Remember, when you're a slave in Egypt, you're not just some guy who's lifting bricks. You didn't control your own time. There's no concept of ownership of yourself. There's no time for the self. And therefore, what we're seeing here is now Hashem is taking out these people and preparing them for Matan Torah. So you can't go straight from a jail cell in Egypt to receiving the Torah. There's a process that has to take place. Time has to pass.
By the way, post-trauma,
yeah,
that's exactly what they discovered. It existed a time period until they get back to normal. It's about like 60 days or something.
So
yesterday I was listening to podcast.
I'm not surprised that there's a process, but I would say more than this.
It's a time that take them.
But more than that, Avi, is that what the Torah is teaching you is that getting freedom
Right.
is one thing,
Right.
but where are you going
Right.
with that freedom?
Right.
And I really believe that so much of like a therapy. When I go back to like people that have trauma, whatever it is, Holocaust survivors, when they came out of the Holocaust, they didn't have therapy. Some of them needed it desperately, but how did they live lives? How did they build so much what they built? And they built what they built because they were forward thinking. Freedom from requires freedom to. The Torah itself is giving you a vision of where you want to always be striving for. You got to be a refined version of the self. You got to be growing, you got to be developing yourself, and so on and so forth.
Is therapy needed?
It depends on if you have a good therapist or not. Some people need the way their psychology is designed is that they need to process their past. Some people don't need that. They just move forward. They're going to plow ahead. They're going to grow. They're going to build, and so on and so forth. So he says as follows: he says, in the world of materialism, nothing is really new. Gratifying one physical desire is very much like gratifying another. The pleasure soon wanes, and the chase is on for something new. Think about all the things you wanted as a child, right? That you're not interested in anymore. Now you have new toys. newer things that you need, newer adventures that you want to go through. He says something new, but the result is always the same. A surfeit of physical pleasure eventually causes revulsion and reduction in enjoyment all around. I often say that the nature of the body is that when you are exposed to any new stimuli, you could feel it right away. I take my finger, I put it in the palm of my hand, I feel it right away. Right? But if I leave my finger here long enough, eventually I won't feel it. That's the nature of the goof. The goof needs constant change, constant stimuli. We get used to something, we're bored of it. We want something completely new. Okay. He says, but achievement of the spirit never pall, right? Which means that when we develop ourselves in ruchni things, okay, that never gets stale. Why is that? When it comes to gashmiut, material things, they fade. When it comes to spiritual things, ruchni things, they last forever. And the truth is, if you actually stop for a moment and you're honest with yourself, you think back on the things that are the most meaningful to you in your life, they're not gashmi things. You enjoy the gashmiut, Jack, right? You enjoy the gashmiut, but the things that are most meaningful are going to be family. It's going to be, the people that are closest to you. It's going to be that time that you help somebody. You trade all the things that you have for those things. That's the ikar, right?
Friendship with Avi.
Of course. No, I'm saying like you again. I always make sure to say this because I was so sensitive to it. Whenever I hear religious people talk about like religiosity, it often seems like they're speaking about at the exclusion of material things. And I just want to be clear, I'm not saying that, right? We're never saying that. Whenever we talk about ruchniut, we're not saying don't enjoy gashmiut. I'm saying enjoy the gashmiut, but understand the gashmiut is not the purpose. The gashmiut is not the goal. Gashmiut is the side thing that we use as a system to allow ourselves to experience the ruchniut of this world. But ultimately what we truly want is the ruchniut. The sweetness felt in the study of Torah and the inward service of God is constant. This is the greatest and most convincing proof of the truth of our spiritual heritage, uniqueness. Whether a person is confronted with a choice in which the forces of good and evil are equally balanced in his mind, we say he has arrived at a bechira point, right? When you have that complete balance between this good and bad, I put this on and I forgot to plug it in. When you have this balance between that perfect spot where you're making that choice between the good and the bad, that is what we call the bechira point. We spoke about that before. Every new bechira point which a person discovers in the course of spiritual progress is unique to him. And therefore, as we grow and as we develop, there's always going to be a new place of where that needle is going to be pointing as far as your ability to make that choice between the right thing and the wrong thing, between the easy thing and the hard thing. The thing that allows you to grow and develop spiritually versus the thing that allows you to stay exactly where you are. Most people on the planet have not moved. You saw today there was Pakistan and India are like closing their borders. They close off airspace right now. They stop trade with one another. They're ready to go to war, like at the brink of war, right? Well, we see this all around the world. China, America, India is moving aircraft carriers into the ocean. U.S. has moved a whole bunch of its fleet back to the Middle East again. The world is poised to go to war. We're on the precipice of battle. And you understand this war that's going to happen, if there's a war that happens, it's not going to be like any other war. If there's going to be a World War III, it's going to change the way, even if we never feel it in America, it's going to for sure change the way we live forever. The whole world is structured on a very unique, tight system of things moving in and out all around the world, trade. And this war, when trade stops because of tariffs and political ideas and so on and so forth, it's simply because we are looking at civilizations, societies, where men and women have stopped growing. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing right now the problems of the planet are always an expression of humanity not developing itself. It's a societies that are focused more on the gashmiyut than the ruchniyut. America, its greatness was that it was a very spiritual country. Right? Its core was a very religious, a country based on chesed, based on truth, real values. We've lost that in the last 30 years. The last 40 years, it's over. It's gone. So now it's about isolationism. It's about me. I want my stuff. Give me my American jobs. Which Americans want to make cars? Who wants to make cars? Who you think Americans want to make sneakers? You think Americans want to make, they want the sweat, the sweatshop jobs? They don't want that stuff. But when you don't have clear vision of growth and development for society, it's just about making money. and it's all money and money, money. And this is where I think Trump is wrong. I think it's important that America should be first, that we should be thinking about our power policies. Right? Why are we giving $200 million to Canada? It makes no sense. It's not my responsibility. Our responsibility is not to help another government. You figure it out for yourselves. We got to help our people here, right? But at the same time, well, what do we do with all the things that we have? How are we growing humanity? How are we developing the selves? Shavuot is this process of recognizing that we need to evolve and develop something more. Every new Bechira point where a person discovers in the course of spiritual progress is unique to him. It has never previously been given to any other human being, nor will it ever be given to anyone else in the future. This is such a powerful idea. The thing that you are struggling with, okay, is uniquely yours and nobody else's. No one else has your struggle. Since no two human beings are exactly alike, the choice that presents itself to this individual at that instant, in time, is his unique purpose, which can be satisfied by no other person. In the whole of history, in the universe, it is absolutely new. This is what the Torah calls the new offering. It can be attained only by progressively banishing defilement from our lives in pure and tested service. So therefore, according to Rav Dessler, the whole purpose of the Omer offering wasn't just stam bringing a korban and walking away. It was about this developing of the self, the newness of the process of growing for 49 days, getting to a place where you have this new point of bechira, because you've evolved yourself spiritually. I'm not sure if any of you have ever experienced where you've gone through this period where you want to move the spiritual needle in one direction. And whenever you want to grow spiritually in one direction, there's always going to be something that pushes you back in the opposite direction. This is the way it is. There's always going to be some kind of counterforce pushing you back. So when you're able to be in that spot, it's only when you want to move forward, something's going to push you back. In that space where there's that struggle, that is uniquely your struggle. No one else that has ever lived has ever had that struggle. You choosing to overcome that struggle is what allows you to define yourself. Shavuot is about this new offering, this new opportunity, new beginning, a new developing of the self, a new iteration of you being able to choose to want to become something more. That's what Shavuot is. In the same way that the weeks from Sunday to Sunday, right? It's a new week, it's the same Sunday, right? It's over and over again. But if it's exactly the same, what happens? You become stuck and stale. If you were truly growing and evolving, you should be hitting the point where there's a point of resistance. When you reach that point after 49 days of truly developing and growing the self, that's what Shavuot is. In that space, you can receive Torah. In that space, you can take in something inside of you that allows you to experience something that draws you closer to God, that draws you closer to the truest version of yourself. Bezrat Hashem, we'll continue this on Monday. Have a great week, everybody. Shavuot Tov and Shabbat Shalom.